How many people know Motley Fool? Oh, wow, that's pretty impressive.
Good. Well, if you're local, maybe by the King Street Metro, you see our sign.
Yeah. But yeah, if you could kind of give us a quick overview of Motley Fool, what you do, and kind of how you fit into that.
Yeah, so company is about 24 years old. I've been there 19 years. We're right here in Old Town Alexandria, and essentially we are out there trying to help the world invest better. So the company was founded by two brothers, unique name, the Motley Fool, but they're both English majors and very into Shakespeare, and so in Shakespearean time, the fool was the character that could tell the king the truth. And they did that with a bit of humor, right? And so we feel like we're out there in the world trying to tell the truth about investing. We do it with a little bit of humor and a little bit of ease. So we think it's accessible for everybody, and everyone should be out there investing. You can beat the market. It just takes a little time and energy and effort, and so we're out there trying to serve those members. We have about 300 people worldwide. Most of those, let's see, I was trying to math, about 260 of those are here in our Alexandria office, and then the others are in small offices in places like Colorado and Singapore and Australia, so forth. So just out there trying to help the world invest better and make money.
So the hat. Do you often walk around with that, just,
most days I wear this hat, yes.
Sure that gets a few looks.
Yeah, it gets a few looks. I usually tell people you have to own it. Right, you have to own it. So I love it because people come up to me and will ask me, like, what's going on with the hat? Or, we have hundreds of thousands of members using our services, and so it's also fun just to be out in the public wearing the hat and have someone come up to me and say, oh my gosh, the Motley Fool, you've really changed my life. I was able to retire early or pay for college, and so I'm a pretty strong believer that people come to work and stay at any company for a strong purpose. And you'll hear I've really had two companies that I've worked for in my career. I'm a loyal person, but I'm a big believer in a purposeful company. And so it's fun for me personally to be out in the world and to have people walk up and say, oh my gosh, you changed my life. And that's the sort of fulfillment I think people want in a job.
Yeah, so I want to get into your career path, but before we do that, just to sort of level set, so you're a chief people officer, so what does that come along with at Motley Fool?
Sure. So
you're not a CLO per se in the context of this conversation.
No, and admittedly, we're not a big title structure, so I think, when we go out into the world and speak and things, we put something fancy. But what I do is I head up the people team. We have about 10 people, which is a pretty large people team for a 300-person company, but we're founded by two brothers who believe really strongly in people coming to work, being engaged, loving what they're doing. When your employees are loving their job, then they're serving your customers, and when your customers are happy, your shareholders are happy, and in turn take care of your employees, right? And so we believe in this stakeholder model of taking care of each other. So my team has a lot of the things that you'd think about in terms of recruiting and development. It's interesting though at our office because we do have a separation between traditional human resources. So we have someone who manages sort of day-to-day benefits and 401k plan, that sort of thing. And she sits over on our finance team. And I think it's representative of how dedicated we are to really development. So we talk about development a lot on my team. I have 3 people who almost their full-time job is dedicated to coaching and development. We're, I think, extremely good at getting to know the individual and what the individual needs, and then working towards providing opportunities to develop those people. So I'm hiring and developing on through.
So coming back to, you alluded to you're a loyal person and you've really only worked for 2 companies. Yeah. One of those companies was one of the largest companies in the country, Bank of America.
Yeah.
So you left Bank of America, and what were you doing at Bank of America, by the way?
For those people who follow the banking industry, actually at the time I was there, originally it was Nations Bank, right? And so it was a big time in banking when I was there in the mid-90s, as Nations Bank was essentially starting to acquire small banks and eventually a big bank all around the country to grow to be the largest retail bank in the United States. And so I came out of, I had this great job when I was in college, which was a floater. And so what I would do was I would get a call in the morning, and I could go out to any bank branch anywhere in the DC area, so Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland, and I was going somewhere where they were having a problem. Someone had gotten fired, someone had quit, there was an overwhelming number of customers. For whatever reason, they were facing a crisis and they needed help. And I got to show up and jump in and be a bank teller, jump in and be a bank manager, salesperson, whatever they needed. And so I got this early taste of being needed, walking into a really tough situation. I got to know the thousands of employees locally. I realized all of a sudden, like, wow, I know a lot of people that work at this bank because I was floating around to all kinds of branches. So when I came out of college, I was I went to work for the bank and spent a little bit of time in their like management development program, but knew right away that I wanted to go into the human resources. I wanted to be able to support all of those people and continue getting to know them. It feels good to be needed, right? It feels good to walk into those situations and help those people. So yeah, I learned pretty early on when I was in school that I loved that sort of atmosphere and being able to serve all of those people. So that's kind of how I got my start at Nations Bank, now Bank of America.
And how long were you there?
So I was there a total about 7 years. I got to the point where I was sort of regional human resources manager, so I forget my exact title, but again, essentially providing HR support for the branch system in this area. I was maybe 300 or 400 banking centers all across. I would drive to Ocean City, Maryland some days, and then more middle parts of Virginia for those of you that are local. Like, it was a pretty big area to cover. Also super diverse, right? So I was in the heart of DC some days, and then out in like Salisbury, Maryland the next day. So I got to see all kinds of different people and some of the challenges that a big organization faces.
Yeah. So you decided to leave what was eventually became Bank of America,
Yep.
or was part of Bank of America, to join what at that point was a 75-person organization. I mean, what happened at that moment that you said, yeah, I'm going to leave the comfort and stability that I know, well, maybe it wasn't so stable, that's part of the question, but what spurred you to leave that sort of environment and go to work for a 75-person company that was,
Well, it started with one of the best pieces of advice my dad ever gave me, which is before you move, go check with your boss just to make sure nothing's changing big at the company. And so my wife and I were actually about to move and buy a house and move to a different area. And so I went to talk to my boss just about what was going on. At that time, we had about 100,000 people at the company. We had then just acquired Bank of America and become a 200,000 person company. And so when I'd started at Nations Bank when it was much smaller, seeing this rapid growth, personally I was having some challenges being able to serve all of those people, especially with sort of corporate programs, the way that they can come in through a big company. So professionally I was having some problems. I felt like doing the kind of work that I wanted to do. Then I went in to talk to my boss and said, hey, I'm about to buy this house. Like, just let's talk about what's going on with the company. And he said, well, I'm glad you asked because I was going to talk to you. We would like you to move to Charlotte because we are taking all of human resources and we're going to put it in, it's going to be amazing. We're going to put it into a call center. And so whenever anyone has a human resources need, they'll be able to call 1-800 Bank of America HR and get all their needs met. And I realized in that moment, really, and I don't want to disparage Bank of America, I definitely learned a lot there. They have challenges like any company, but at that time, it was really the sort of belief system that I had developed and how to develop people, getting to know them. Again, what I learned early on, getting out into the field, meeting people, understanding their individual needs, I felt like was being ripped away from me, where I was going to manage a team in a call center who really didn't know who they were talking to or the kind of situation that they were particularly facing. And so that was the moment where I decided I think I need some kind of a change. And so, yeah, shifted to the Motley Fool, where at that time there really wasn't any human resources. They had sort of started and tested a few things, but a chance to go to a place where I could do my own thing. I could test my own ideas. Take a company that really was open to adventure and breaking some stuff. And so that's the move I made at that time.
So what was that conversation like when you went back home and said, hey, you know that thing about us buying a house? You know?
I have a pretty great wife, and she's a pretty adventurous person, so she was like, where do I sign up? Let's go. So we made the move. We lived in Annapolis at that time, so.
So you still bought the house?
Yeah, we just bought a different location. So we moved to Alexandria, Virginia instead of Bethesda, Maryland, and I have a 1.6 mile commute, which is the most amazing thing. If you live in DC, you know that. And so she was on board. She was excited. So she actually quit and changed her job too, and we just did a total life move. And 19 years later, I'm pretty stoked. And it's a great company because it still feels very much like it did when I first started. I'm still testing and learning new ideas all the time. I'm still breaking things. And that's what keeps me there for sure.